why would we ever guess on something that we can measure? And I think that's a fantastic point, is that with the Rapsodo information coming out, with the TrackMan information at our hands, we have more accurate information and we can measure things that we weren't aware of 5 to 10 years ago.
Welcome to Simple Sabermetrics, the brains behind baseball's latest data-driven revolution. If this is your first time here and you want to learn more about the practical applications of baseball's latest technologies and training techniques, join the movement now by clicking the subscribe button down below. So our guest today is a very special one. As you saw in the intro, we are bringing on Demetre Kokoris to share more about what he's learned over his career. He will touch on a lot of this stuff later, but to give you a brief introduction, Demetre has coached at 5 different colleges before landing a minor league pitching coach job with the Toronto Blue Jays. Before all of that, he was both a graduate assistant and, you guessed it, a student manager. Above all else, Demetre has been a great friend to me over the past 2 years now. It all started after I found him guest starring on the Art of Pitching podcast in an episode titled Student Manager Turned D1 Pitching Coach. I'll be sure to link that down below, but after that we got connected on Twitter, and here we are. This episode is jam-packed with a ton of awesome information, so be sure to whip out your pen and paper because you won't want to miss any of this. In all honesty, this is one of my favorite episodes I've put up on the channel to this date, so I hope you enjoy, and let's jump into it. First things first, I wanted Demetre to introduce himself and talk about the experience he has gained throughout his career. And I want you to really pay attention to this, because all of this information wasn't just about where he was at each stop. He really dives into the specific things he learned and took with him to the next stop. I find it fascinating, and I hope you will too.
Well, my name is Demetre Kokoris, and I am currently the short season pitching coach for the Toronto Blue Jays. I've definitely taken a unique route, and it's given me a lot of opportunity to observe from some of the best within the industry. I started off at the University of South Carolina, working under Ray Tanner, who was able to guide that team to the College World Series my freshman and sophomore year. And what I really noticed there was the emphasis on strength, as well as our pitching coach, Mark Calvey, really emphasized long toss and the ability to pitch backwards. Really, really good at striking guys out and the ability to throw off-speed pitches in any count for a strike. So that was a fantastic foundation for me kind of moving forward with my career. From there, I went to Cal State Fullerton to be a grad assistant, and I also went to the College World Series 2 of the 3 years that I was there, and they did it in a very different way. Long toss was still a part of the program, big piece, but the emphasis pitching-wise was on forcing weak contacts, keeping the ball out of the air and getting ground balls. And the emphasis was on commanding your fastball, and over time the ability to develop changeup. Combine that with the influence Ken Revisa had and the opportunity that I had to learn under Ken. I got my master's in business administration at Cal State Fullerton with an emphasis in applied sports psychology and an opportunity to take 3 classes with Ken, as well as see Ken directly work with our baseball team for 3 seasons. That experience was unbelievable. And so I've got this foundation from Carolina, what it takes to get to the World Series, which is one thing, and then on top of that, now I go to Fullerton and it's different, and so I get to add on to that.
This again is something that I took from the conversation we had to heart. Throughout his early days in baseball, he was able to surround himself with some teams that were doing some very special things, and all of those experiences helped shape the way that he thought about the game. And that is the benefit of getting into the game so early, being able to add more tools to your toolbox.
From there, I joined Coach Horton up at the University of Oregon and met a guy by the name of Andrew Checketts, who did things velocity development-wise that was unbelievable. First I'd ever seen. We got a lot of arms that were 86 to 88 miles an hour out of high school, and by the time they were juniors, they were 92 to 94 painting with their fastballs. In 2011, we had 14 pitchers on staff at the University of Oregon, 13 of which got drafted. And the holistic physical development as well as skill set was unbelievable from a pitching standpoint. It was the first time I'd seen weighted balls used. We utilized plyometrics, Olympic lifting, sprinting form, as well as swimming for conditioning. And it was the first time I was introduced to solely anaerobic system of conditioning versus aerobic system of conditioning. That anaerobic system is within 8 seconds. If you look at the pitching delivery, explosive and short. And even when a starter throws 120 pitches, he's not working more than 2 seconds at a time. So there was this movement away from the aerobic system, respiration system of conditioning, which is long distance and running, to this short explosive power. And I believe that that directly contributed to our pitcher's ability to gain velocity. From the University of Oregon, I went to Chemeketa Community College in the state of Oregon, a junior college, to be the pitching coach, and really have an opportunity for a program to be on me. Started going to the Texas Baseball Ranch in the fall and winter to see their ultimate pitching coaches boot camp, and then started utilizing things from Eric Cressy in the weight room. And at Chemeketa, we went from a staff filled with 82 to 84 miles an hour arms to my third year there, we had 2 guys that were 92, 94, and about 7 other dudes that were up to 90, which was unheard of almost in the NLAC. And so the opportunity to really implement a system and go through the lumps. The first year was super tough. We did not have a lot of success. But to eventually find this balance of physical training, physical preparation, arm care, and the ability to compete and develop and fill up the strike zone, and pitched to I believe it was a 2.85 team ERA in that 2015 season. From there, I went to Santa Barbara City College, wanted an opportunity to be closer to home and family, and got to coach for a winning program. And I got an opportunity to try to fit a system within an already existing winning culture. And I learned a lot about, we had a 16-week fall, and every single day of every single week was scheduled and mapped out. And I really learned a lot about systemic programming from the standpoint of the first 2 weeks were only fastballs. We learned how to command the fastballs. The second 2 weeks were fastball changeup, and 1-0 and 2-1 counts were automatic changeups, which did 2 things. It forced you to win the 0-0 and win the 1-1, as well as it got you comfortable with the ability to throw off-speed pitches 1-0 and 2-1. In 2016 there, we continued on the tradition and made the postseason, and all 3 of our starters ended up going on to Division I schools. 2017, spent the fall at Santa Barbara City College, where they ended up winning the conference by 3 games, which was fantastic, but I ended up taking a job at Point Loma Nazarene University at Division II in San Diego. There was an opportunity there to really build off of a very strong culture and take the next step. During my time at Point Loma, one of the summers, I ended up going up to Driveline. I have a good friend of mine by the name of Kyle Bodie, and he offered me an opportunity to intern up there and learn some of the new technologies. And so in the summer of 2017, I got very comfortable with this new machine called the Rapsodo, and got comfortable with a technology called the Motus Sleep. And so spent those 6 weeks at Driveline were extremely invaluable, as well as watched the way that their culture was growing and the way that baseball development and pitching development was taking off. So I was able to take the things that we learned at Driveline and implement them at Point Loma. 2018 season ended up being a tremendous success with a freshman winning Conference Pitcher of the Year, as well as us making it to the postseason and winning the first ever NCAA men's postseason victory in Point Loma school history in any sport. From Point Loma, I ended up at Lincoln Memorial University in Tennessee for a fall, a brief stint before I got an opportunity for the Blue Jays, who gave me a call. And Gil Kim ended up hiring me as a minor league pitching coach for the short season A club in Vancouver. And that leads me to where I'm at now, which is with the Toronto Blue Jays, an unbelievable organization who's very forward thinking. I get an opportunity every day to work with top-end TrackMan information, Edgertronic film, Rapsodo data, highly intelligent analysts, strength coaches who are at the top of their field, athletic trainers who have an unbelievable educational base and great experience, and I get to be a part of a very unique collaborative effort, which I believe is the future of pitching development. And I'm very, very excited to be able to call myself part of that organization.
As you've all probably noticed by now, Demetre has been a lot of places and seen the game from many different points of view, and that has allowed him to continue to learn and foster new ideas wherever he ended up next. From here, we started to chat about how technology has evolved over his career, and his answer is something that lines up with exactly what I've said time and time again on this channel. Listen in.
Yeah, I think technology has come in many shapes and sizes and forms during the course of my coaching career. I would consider long toss a form of technology. I would consider weighted balls a form of technology. And then you have the raw data and information such as TrackMan and Rapsodo, which is very prevalent technology. And whether it's utilizing long toss and weighted balls for the physical development of pitchers and their ability to throw the baseball, or whether it's utilizing Rapsodo and TrackMan data for getting more information on pitch metrics and how that guides a practice and how that guides player development and how that guides a bullpen setting. Technology has become a more and more powerful and prevalent tool within pitching development. As far as my experience was concerned, I think I'll specifically talk about Rapsodo and TrackMan. I think what is required is for the coach to really dive into that information. Dive into Rapsodo information, understand spin efficiency, understand spin rate, understand true spin, understand axis of rotation, understand how those metrics apply to each pitch, and really dive deep and compare guys who are having success as well as guys that aren't successful and which metrics are more prevalent given the characteristics within a pitcher. And the deeper you can get within the onion as far as the data and the technology goes, you start finding which pieces of information are more relevant to the particular pitchers. And now you translate that, you get to know your pitchers, you get to know whether it's the arm slot they throw from, their velocity, what spin rate they have, what axis of rotation they throw from, what their personalities are, what type of a learner are they, and you start to find a term that's becoming more prevalent in our industry is the low-hanging fruit of development. What are some prevalent metrics to this pitcher's success that he's close to achieving that he's not quite at? And you're able to take this deeper understanding of the data and you're able to simplify it so that the athlete can digest which numbers are important for him to chase in the process of getting outs before the guy touches the white thing. At the end of the day, it's all about getting outs and making sure guys don't score runs. And so the data serves as a process-oriented goal for that overall goal of not allowing runs.
Here, Demetre really reiterates the way I view technology as a tool that plays a huge role in our game. Understanding all the new forms of information that are becoming commonplace in today's game is key, but being able to understand and apply that information is king. Next, we went off on how this information can be applied, specifically talking about the learning process, not just for how athletes can best receive this information, but also about how we as coaches or individuals interested in player development can continue to further our career by continuously learning as well.
Yeah, the depth of that topic is pretty unbelievable. So to give it kind of a general view and put it into some buckets, getting to understand the player's personality from the standpoint of visual learners versus audio learners versus kinesthetic or feel learners, guys that need to do stuff. And most of the time, the athlete is a combination of the three. It's finding out which one they lean more heavily towards and kind of editing that and customizing your program for their specific learning. The other pieces are attention span. How much time do you have somebody for and how deep can you get? Another span is like their affiliation with the numbers. How familiar are they? How interested are they with the numbers? Or are they more like a result-oriented individual where they just want to see the pitch move? And so there's a lot of depth to it, and a lot of it is just having conversations with guys, seeing what clicks, seeing what they respond to in a positive manner, and then building off of that and going down that road. I would say the biggest thing that's changed is the data and the information. One of the quotes that I've heard from a video on a golf coach was he discusses, why would we ever guess on something that we can measure? And I think that's a fantastic point.
And that is something that I want to reiterate. Why would we ever guess on something that we can measure? That is exactly what this data-driven revolution happening at all levels of the sport right now is all about. It isn't about new school versus old school. It's about quantifying the things that have been taught for ages. So keep that in mind as Demetre continues.
With the Rapsodo information coming out, with the TrackMan information at our hands, we have more accurate information and we can measure things that we weren't aware of 5 to 10 years ago. And with this accuracy of information, with this ability to measure things, the field has gravitated towards that. And so it's being able to keep that foundational knowledge of pitching, of throwing strikes, filling it up, competing, playing the game one pitch at a time. And then it's taking this data and adding it on top of that pyramid, of that foundation, and making that pyramid taller. of understanding, okay, this guy can really spin a breaking ball, but his spin efficiency isn't where it needs to really optimize the movement of that slider. Now, he's got the thing that's difficult to teach, which is the spin rate. Now we can focus more on the spin efficiency and get the shape that we need so that this guy can have a wipeout slider. And the data and the information and the numbers that we get allow us to see that and identify that so that we can use our limited time and energy in the right direction to be most effective for developing the pitcher and allowing him to reach his own potential.
Next, I asked Demetre a question that I receive a lot. How much do I need to know to get started?
You need to know as much as possible. Not the greatest answer of all time, but an honest answer. I think the pursuit of knowledge is never ending. And a big buzzword that's come up over the last couple years has been the lifelong learner. And there's a reason that is a term, is that it's impossible to know everything and this stuff is constantly changing. So there's no bar or metric as far as what you know. It's just continuing to push the envelope day in and day out. And not only just learning more information, but refining what you do know so that it's effective implemented and that the player actually makes progress with that information. As far as resources are concerned, I would start with simple Sabermetrics. That primary base be a foundational learning piece.
Always appreciate the shout out, brother. But he's exactly right. That is exactly what Simple Sabermetrics is all about. It's about sharing with you the information you need in order to have that foundation in place before you even step on the field. And now, we're going to dive into my personal favorite portion of our entire conversation, which is about the advice he would give anybody interested in getting into this industry and staying in it for a long time. And I'll let him take it from here.
I would say there's two pieces of advice, or there's two requirements that I've had in my life that's dictated my decision making. Number one is surrounding myself with good people. I want to be around individuals who have a good moral standard and do things the right way. And then number two is surround yourself with competent people. Surround yourself with individuals that have a skill set. And if those two things exist, chances are you're going to head in the right direction, regardless of what direction that is. There's a lot of different ways you can get pulled as far as the pitching development is concerned. And there's a lot of different avenues, from pitch design to delivery to game planning and game strategy. And there's a lot of different areas of specialization. And I would say allow your environment to really speak to you as far as what's most prevalent and what information is best available to you, and to go down that road. And I've found if those two things occur, the rest will take care of itself, because the honesty of the situation is you really don't have much control over the future, and you really can't draw this thing out. And so life will surprise you with unbelievable opportunities. You just need to be aware of them and ready for them when they come. And another one to throw in there is just work your tail off. It takes work. It takes really hard work, and keep pushing the envelope and never be satisfied with where you're at. Continually strive to develop yourself and be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday.
And my final interjection here is really listen to this last part carefully, because this game is always changing, and the technology being produced will always put people who dedicate their careers to constantly chasing that new knowledge first.
Being a lifelong learner for me is just a byproduct of helping. I feel my responsibility is to put the athletes in an environment in which we can maximize their development. And I don't feel like I've mastered the perfect environment. Until I am able to create a system and environment in which that's the reality, then I've got a lot more work to do. The responsibility that I take of being a mentor or a guide to these young men, and understanding they only have a small window of opportunity, and that the environment that I roll out is very important for their development, I take that very seriously. And I've taken a lot of L's in my career, and those losses and those disappointments really fuel my search for the next solid piece of information that I know could help that next guy. Whereas if I sat on my laurels, that next individual that comes up, I might not have the most efficient environment to help that individual develop. And that's something that really fuels and motivates me to become better and continue learning every day. Then as far as opportunity to contact me with any questions, totally open, is on Twitter. It's at Coach Kokoris. Direct messages are open. Love to hear from you, whether you're a coach that's starting off, whether you're a player, whether you're an individual who's trying to break into the industry. It doesn't matter. If you have a pitching question, would love to hear from you and really enjoy that interaction.
I don't have too much to add on to this except thank you to Demetre. It was awesome having him on, and I have a feeling that he is somebody you guys will get to see again on Simple Sabermetrics sometime in the near future. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see more Simple Sabermetrics, please subscribe. Click the video on the left for more baseball animations, or the video on the right to check out my new vlog. Leave a comment and a like down below to show your support, and I will see you next Wednesday with a new baseball animation.